I need
All
that.
right. Hey, everyone. This is the Wealth Building Educator back again. Today, I have a very, very, very special guest, and I'm super excited about having Shanté Nicole on my program. She is an author, a financial educator, a certified credit consultant. She holds a degree in nursing, which I had no idea. And, she is also a founder of a nonprofit organization, which is FACE, and that is Facing Facing Autism with Children Everywhere. And in 2017, she started the Facebook group Financial Common Sense, and she's the CEO of Financial Common Sense Incorporated. Today, I welcome Shanté Nicole. Shanté Nicole, I'm super excited to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and tell us who you are?
All right. So again, my name is Shanté Nicole. I'm the founder and CEO of Financial Common Sense. And so that really started as a Facebook group. I just wanted to build a community and share my story. We'll probably touch on that later as the interview goes on. But I wanted to just share my story and tips and resources because I'm not new to credit. I've been helping people with their credit since I was like in my early 20s, but I never desired to do it as a career. But the group ended up going in that direction because people started saying, like, I love this group. It's so helpful, so much information, but I am overwhelmed trying to piece it all together. And I was like, okay. Then I started actually doing I did a nonprofit first because I was going into schools and churches and stuff. And I was doing that for free. That was like my give back. But then it's turned into the incorporation and now it's just a full blown business. And I've spoken several places and done interviews like this and hosted webinars for other people's audiences. And I'm just so honored to just share not only my story of how I got here, but just to see that people can come out of the ashes from what they think is no turning back and just to see their progress. And I live that every day. I see it in my group. It makes me happy. So I love what I do.
Absolutely. And you're close to 100,000, members on the Facebook group. So since it's doing so well, are you still doing nursing as well, or is this your full-time gig?
I've never nursed. I got my degree and never practiced, but I tell people I'm nursing people's finances.
There you go. There you go. So you use a lot of those same strategies in the credit game.
Never really. It's a whole different ballgame with you guys.
Well, so what exactly do you do with Financial Common Sense?
So I do a lot. So my main thing is I do the financial coaching, right? And I call it coaching because I don't do credit repair. When people ask for credit repair, do you repair credit? I say no, but I teach you how to repair your credit. And what better way to walk away with knowledge, right? If you go on Google and type credit repair company and hit images, every flyer is going to say, we delete, and they name all this bad stuff. And I'm like, then what happens after all that is deleted? If it's deleted, right? There's so many things that they walk away not knowing. And I see the inbox messages all the time. I paid somebody $4,000 and nothing happened or nothing worked or things did come off my credit report, but like my score still sucks. So it's like you walk away with no education, but you paid somebody enough money to have at least, a semester in college, So it's kind of like, why would you do that? But they bank on people's ignorance. And that's why I coach people. So I always tell people, if you watch football, right? Are you a football watcher?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For 41 years, I've been watching football.
The players are on the field, right? When it's time to run a specific play, who do they come off the field and talk to?
They coach.
The coach not out there playing, right? He tells them what to do and they go do it. And so when you tell me I need my credit repaired, it's jacked up, and I check your report, I tell you exactly what you need to do. I'm the coach. You are the player. So no, I'm not going to do it for you because I can't. There's no possible way to do that. Nobody can repair your credit for you. So if they tell you that, they're lying.
Yeah. So, and when I have seen credit repair people who have said that they fix the credit for people, right? So I'm like, if you have 100 clients, how can you go in there and write letters for them and all of that? It seems like it'll be way too time consuming.
It's not. It's the same templates. It's the same plug and play, drag and drop. And they go and they write. It's easy for me. I can shoot off 70 letters in the next 30 minutes right now, and then
really
get them all out. I mean, but fixing credit is not just disputing things, right? Mm-hmm. Why are you disputing? Do you know the law, right? And then even if you don't have anything negative, that doesn't mean you'll have good credit. I have a client with 0 negative items on her credit report. Her scores are in the 500s.
Is that because they don't have a good mix of credit?
It's because of a lot of things. So that's a great question. People want 700 score. That's everyone's like goal, right? 700 club. 750, 800. Okay. Do you know what factors go into calculating that 3-digit number? No. That's the answer I always get. They just know they want a high number. So like you said, it's not because they had a mix. It's 5 components to how credit scores are calculated. It can be a whole bunch of things why that she still doesn't have a good credit score with nothing negative. And for transparency, when I was going through my divorce, very challenging time, I had 2 charge-offs, a collection, and 15 late payments. My score was 742. People say, how in the world did you have all of that negative and still have a good score? This is why I coach people. This is the education piece, right? Having good credit is not about not having anything negative, but it's also about showing the positive history. You have to show positive credit history. That's what lenders want to see, right? Yeah. They don't want to just know that you don't have a collection. They want to see, how have you managed to pay back all the other people you borrowed money from? Because I can't tell that if you don't have anything on your credit. Yeah. That's one of the pieces. That's a very big component of building your credit, good credit.
Okay, and that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask. You know, what exactly is FICO, and how is the FICO score computed?
So FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation. So a lot of people don't even know it's an acronym, right? So it's a data analytics company. They have set an algorithm to say, when we look at someone's credit report, based on the information we see, that's how we come up with our number. So when I talked about those 5 components, which I'll go through really quickly, that's what they're looking for. Now, keep in mind, for you and anyone else watching, your score is not the most important factor, because I just told you, I had all those negative things that had a high score. A lender may look at my report and go, yeah, but she might have a 742, but I don't like the fact that she has 15 late payments, so I'm going to deny her. So it's not just about the score, right? But your whole entire credit history makes up your score. Just like when students are in school, you're an administrator, right?
Yep.
They get report cards. I always ask this when I go teach at high schools and middle schools. What is that 3-digit number associated with your report card? Oh, Miss Shanté, my GPA. Exactly. And where's that GPA coming from? They're like, the grades on my report card. Bingo. So that number is coming from the stuff on your credit report. So when you say, I have a collection, but it's not reporting, is this affecting my score? If it's not reporting, then it can affect your score, right? But that's just, again, just that common basic knowledge that people don't know. And I'm very passionate about teaching. So the 5 components of a credit score are payment history, self-explanatory. How responsible are you with paying back on time? Not just paying back. You can't just be like, I give them their money when they get it. You can, but understand the consequences, right? Yep. Utilization, a big factor. You have to use credit to show how responsible you are with paying it back, right? If you're not borrowing money, you're not paying back, they can't see how responsible you are. Yep. So it is critical. You have to use your credit cards. And utilization only is for credit cards. You're not utilizing a student loan. You're not utilizing the car loan. Credit cards, you have to use them. And of course, you know, in my group, I talk about a very specific way you should use your credit cards to boost your scores. But again, so utilization is number 2. Your length of credit history. How long have you had credit established? Are you brand new to credit? Are you fresh out of college and you're just starting? Have you had credit for years like you and I probably have? You know, that makes a difference, because even if you had flawless payment history and awesome utilization, if you've only done that for 2 years, you're still risky to a lender, because they're like, we don't see longevity with how long you can keep this up, right? Yep. Even if you've had credit for 20 years, you had great credit, somewhere in the middle you fell short, you bounce back, that makes a difference, right? They don't want to see that you've had perfect history for 20 years. What are you doing currently? What happened in the past? How long ago did the things happen? You know, that makes a difference. So then the 4th component is that credit mix you were talking about. Credit mix comprises of installment lines of credit and revolving. So they want to see credit cards and they want to see installment lines like student loans, auto loans, mortgages. Not to say you should have one of each. Don't run out and buy a car just so you can have
just to get a good score.
But people ask that question in my group. Should I go get a car? Like, do you need
a car? They do. They ask that question in the group.
You see it. So yes, credit, and there's ways to do that without taking out ridiculous loans. But again, this is all about the knowledge and education, right? The final component are your inquiries. Every time you get an inquiry, it's a small hit to your credit, but it does bounce back after a while, because then if you apply for a card, you get the card. Now it's time to show that payment history, that utilization, the length of credit history. So all of that happens when you establish credit. The idea is to show the longevity and show positive longevity when you're using credit. So
That's some really good information. And I want to go back and touch on one thing you mentioned. You were talking about the way to optimize your score each month. So there are a lot of myths out there, and I just want you to kind of talk about some of those myths. So one myth I've always heard was that you keep a $2 balance on one card each month. Why don't you tell us about that?
Hi, yeah. I have a whole book called Credit Myths and Misconceptions. It's like 30-something pages, and it's just about all the different things that I've heard over the years. So let's talk about utilization, right? That second component. You have to show utilization. So one of the biggest things another misconception is people think I'm gonna use my card and pay it right back, and that's gonna show great, payment history. It shows good payment history, but it's not showing utilization because you have to let something report to show utilization. Remember, I said this at the beginning. Your scores are calculated based on what's reporting. If you're not letting utilization report, they cannot factor that into your score. Now, there's never a need to leave. I always hear $2. I'm like, what? Who came up with that number? Like, why is it $2? So I understand why they're saying it, right? Because they're saying, well, you got to let something report. So pay everything and leave the $2. What they don't know is that there's something called a billing cycle that goes along with your due date. Whatever the balance is when your cycle closes, that is what gets reported. So by the time your due date comes, which is about 25 days after your cycle closes, it already reported whatever that balance was when your cycle closed. So if you pay everything and leave $2, like something reported 25 days ago. So why leave the $2? And now you're paying interest on $2, like, so you use it, you let it report, and then you pay in full on the due date. That way something's reporting every month and you're not paying interest every month. I use all of my major credit cards every single month. I do not pay interest. Zero zeros. And I use thousands of dollars on my credit card every month. And I don't pay interest because I don't like giving away extra money for purchases that I bought on sale.
Exactly.
Why would I do that? I got it on sale for 50% off, and now I pay over the regular price because I didn't pay interest. I mean, I didn't pay in full. So
yeah. Wow. So you kind of lead me down an interesting road, right? So there's a group of people, and you probably know who I'm talking about. They automatically think having a credit card is bad, and it's going to put you in debt by having a car. And we had an interesting situation. I went up to New York City and back in July with my family, and it was really late. We got to LaGuardia. It was like 11:30 at night, and we were taking a credit card to go get our car rental. And there was a young lady in front of us with her 2 kids. Husband was out of town, and she was trying to rent a car. And they told her, they said, we just take credit cards. And this went on for like 45 minutes. And this lady had no bills or anything in her name. Because I said, hey, I pay all my bills through online. So I get an email. So maybe you could check your email and get a bill to show them that you are who you say you are. And she said, I don't have any bills. So everything was in her husband's name. She had a debit card. And she said, we don't do credit. We don't do credit. And I said, well, to myself, I said, I do credit. I'm in and out in 5 minutes. You're here for 45 minutes. So just tell us about that situation, because they very well could have said, we're not going to let you rent a car. And I've seen other people post in other groups about, being stranded for days because they don't have a credit card. I just think it's irresponsible to teach people that credit cards are bad. What's your thoughts on that?
So I don't think people are teaching that. I think that people's experiences make that their mantra, right? It's not the credit cards that are bad. It's the people using them irresponsibly that are bad. And I'm not calling the people bad. Using it irresponsibly is bad. I understand. People get in a rut. They graduate from college. They get a credit card. They misuse it. And then now they got thousands of dollars in credit card debt because they looked at it like free money, right? Then they in collections. And so now you're 27 and you're like, I'm still cleaning up stuff, that mistakes I made when I was 18. So then you're fearful of credit cards now because you're like, credit is bad. No, the way you used it was bad. Credit is not bad. Credit is the only way. Now listen, if you got Oprah money or Tyler Perry money or Jay-Z money or Beyonce money and you can buy everything in cash, we don't need no credit. Honestly, but if you can buy a house in cash, you don't need credit. If I had $370,000 to buy a house in cash, why do they need to check my credit? They're not financing anything, right? But most of us don't live that life. And so we need credit. And the idea is that start looking at credit as a good thing. Leverage your credit. I make so much money off my credit cards. I've flown across the country for free because of my credit cards, right? And I'm not in debt. Like, how is that possible? Because people need to get in that mindset of use credit cards for things you already have the money for. If you don't have the money for it at the moment when you swipe, you can't afford it. Fight me, at me, whatever you want to do. Social media. If you're buying it and you don't have the money to pay in full, you can't afford it. And we need to start not buying things we can't afford. Now, big purchases, yes. College, yes. Even though people still have their own thoughts about that as well.
Yeah.
College, maybe a car if you can't buy it outright, and a house. That's the only things you should be financing. Don't finance vacations. I have a client who went on vacation. It was a cruise. $2,000, she said. She's still paying it off 3 years later. I'm like, so now you're probably gonna pay $5,000 or $6,000. I know, because you couldn't afford it. Vacations are nice. We all need some R&R, but if you can't afford it, don't go.
Yeah, I agree.
Country will be there next year and the year after that, right? It's not gonna just float off into like space. So we have to it's really about mindset. I did a 5-day credit challenge in my group back in April because that's Financial Literacy Month. And on day one, I know people wanted me to start digging into scores and disputing. Day one was just about money mindset. Why do you think the way you do? Why do you use money the way you do? Was it because of something that happened when you were a child? Is it because you didn't have the money talks when you were a kid? Is it because your parents told you cash only, don't do credit? What was it? Why do you think the way you think? Were you a struggle kid? And so you say, I'm not going to have my kids struggle. So you break your pockets, giving them everything they want because you don't want them to be like how you were. So it's really just changing your mindset. So credit is not bad. Credit, people complain about it, but if we didn't have it, then they'll be complaining that we can't purchase things, right? So Absolutely. It's really just about understanding why it exists and making it work for you and your family.
That's a good point. And one thing I can say about that community is that, let's suppose you don't have a credit card. If you don't have a credit card, you can't get in the credit card debt. That's you can't argue against that. I mean, you can't go $50,000 in credit card debt if you don't have any credit card. Yeah. But there's a way you can use credit cards as a debit card. Like you said, if you have the money there and you're going to buy that thing anyway, why don't you just use your credit card? And I look at it like I'm getting a 2% discount every time I use my cashback card. Plain and simple. I'm not buying anything I wouldn't have bought with my debit card or cash.
Say it again for the people in the cheap seats.
and those would be the seats I'd be in because I'm super frugal.
Me too. Depending on who it is, But the thing is, right, it's just about when you have that understanding, when you understand I can't buy this because I can't afford it. When you buy something you have the money for, there's no stress. When the bill comes, you pay it. You're not wondering, oh, I only got the minimum. You know why they build the minimum payment into the bills? Not because they like you. They're not saying, you know what, you use $300, but you can just give us $75. We gonna let you slide this month. No, they're making so much money off of you every month, every year. $1 billion industry. Credit card, they don't make money off me. I get my statements at the end of the year, and it says, here's your year to date from all 2020. How much interest did you pay? Not getting no more extra money off me, but I use my cards for everything. My debit card does not get used. I use it where people say we don't take credit, and that's very rarely anywhere. But every bill that I have that allows me to pay with a credit card, I use a credit card. Why not? I have to pay my electric bill anyway, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So pay it on the card and pay back. If I could pay my mortgage on my credit card, I'd be living the life.
Me too. Oh, me too. I would use it every month. I use it for everything.
So we need to figure out how to figure that out. I need that cash back. But I understand why too. The merchant fees. As a business now, I know every time somebody buys something from me, I'm charged for them using a credit card. So you know how much money they would be paying in fees for people, swiping for mortgage and car loans too. You can't use your credit card for auto loans, but
yeah, that's true. Well, I was on a trip, American Airlines, from a funeral in Orlando a couple months ago, and there was an aviator card, and they said we're waiving the first year, and all you got to do is make one purchase. It doesn't have to be, how usually it's $500 in a month. This was one purchase, and you get 60,000 points. Plus, we're going to give you an extra 500 points. So I went down a quick trip and bought I went to 7-Eleven and bought a big gulp for 79 cents and got almost 61,000 points. And I did that for my wife too. So we got 121,000 points, which I think is like 2 round trip tickets to Belize or something like that.
Wow. And
we use another card with the same merchant to get about 9 free nights in the hotel, and we didn't pay a dime in interest. And this is stuff that we would buy anyway.
Anyway, right.
So, I mean, it's just a way, you know, I know some hackers out there, they do all these credit card hacks and what you got?
You on Facebook that's just for like that.
Just for hacking, just for travel, right?
Man, or just anything. Like this one guy says every time. So now credit cards are starting to offer checking accounts now. Like a lot of them are doing that, and they're giving you those intro bonuses. You know, use direct deposit. You know, within the first 3 months, we'll give you $500. So he literally just goes and opens all these accounts, changes his direct deposit or deposit at whatever amount, and then he closes them. He's like, he walks away with like thousands of dollars in pro, because they don't say you have to keep the account open for a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? So
you just have to keep it open for like, I think 90 days most of the time, and then once you get the bonus,
like I don't use this. I have my own primary card. You know, I mean checking account. So it's you have to just make it work for you. Before I start teaching people those things, I'm like, again, let's shift your mindset. How did you get here in the first place? How are you here? Why are you in this much debt? What happened? Was it an emergency? It was a death in the family, lost job? Most times it's not. It's just, I got careless. I swiped too much. I'm a chronic swiper. And I found myself in debt because it feels good to walk out of the store with something that you wanted and you didn't hand over cash. And it's easy. It's just swipe. Yep. So I tell people, credit card purchases, it's a loan, okay? I don't know what people think when they swipe, but it's a loan. So I say, if you are second guessing a purchase, think about it like this. Would you go into the bank and ask for a loan for that purchase? And if you like, that's a waste of time or it sounds silly for me to do that, then don't do it.
That's a really good point.
That's you go into Bank of America like, what's up, BOA? So Vicky's having an underwear sale this month, so can I get like 120 to get some draws? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and if you have it, like, yes, every year when they do their semi-annual sale, I swipe, but I pay right back because I have the money, right? Yeah. But no, if you would not go into the bank and ask for a loan for your 5-star meal at a restaurant, then don't swipe your card.
That's a good point. And I do have a question that kind of leads me to another question about those merchant cards, right? So a lot of time you'll have these merchants that say, oh, if you open an account with us today, you'll get half off or 25% off. When is that worth it? Because obviously you don't want to open up too many cards because that's going to hurt your score. And it's going to hurt your opportunity to get cards like the Chase Sapphire because of the 524.
Yep. So, which a lot of people don't even know if that exists. And I'll let you elaborate on that after I answer your question. Right. So it's worth it when, me, right? I got my car, I got my house. I'm not financing anything in the next few years. I don't care about my credit at this point. Not to say I don't want to say I don't care. It's just that I don't need to be super focused on it right now. So in that sense, it makes sense too, right? I go to, Children's Place and they say, if you open the card today, you get 20% off. Well, I don't have that many inquiries, or the ones I have are about to fall off anyway. Or if you haven't applied for something in a long time, then go ahead and try your hand, right? But understand where you are with your credit. So many people apply for things and they're like, standing at the register. And I'm like, you should know if you're probably gonna get, like, I've never applied for anything and like was nervous about what I was doing.
You already know you're gonna get approved.
Well, I would say in the last 15 years, but when I was going through my divorce and stuff, I was like, oh Jesus, because I was trying to rebuild and clean up. But know where you are. If you're trying to rebuild from crap, don't be applying for American Express cards or Chase Sapphire, or like, understand the cards that are specific to your situation. The less favorable credit people, there are cards for you. Yeah. The more favorable credit, there are cards. Some people don't travel, so don't go apply for a travel card just because you saw somebody else apply for it, right? But anyway, it also makes sense when you have the money to pay back, because I use this example all the time in my webinars, especially around the holidays, Christmas time. Everybody wants a good sale. Everybody wants a good discount. So all those stores are really hounding you about, sign up for this card today and you get 15% off. Okay, so you save 15%, but then you don't pay back in full. So now that discount is out the window because you didn't have the money to pay back in full. So that's the only time it makes sense, when you're really not caring about your credit too much and you don't mind the inquiries, or you do know for sure that you're going to pay back in full, because that's the only way to take advantage of a discount.
Absolutely.
So what's 524? What is this Chase?
Okay, I'm gonna try to explain it. If I miss anything, you let me know.
I got you.
Okay, so from what I could gather with the 524, if you open 5 if you have opened 5 credit cards within the previous 24 months, Chase's algorithm will automatically decline you for their, high bonus, high reward cards. So a lot of time people, they do their best to try to go as long as they can to not open any more cards. And I'll tell you what, like one time I had gotten to like 21 months or something, and I saw another card that had a $500 bonus or something crazy, and I just had to do it. So I've never been able to get under that 524. I'm probably about 12 months away now,
Yeah,
but
I apply for a card like every few years. So when I see people like you, I'm like, why do y'all keep applying for like 524 sounds so obsessive to me? Because I'm like, I don't know if I've ever opened 5 accounts in 2 years. Like, except, let me not judge. When I was rebuilding from all of my trauma and tragedy, yeah, I was like applying everywhere because I was like, I needed to just start to get the ball rolling with rebuilding, which is why I was able to have all of that negative stuff on my credit report, but still have a high score, because as time passed, those negative items were aging. And so one tidbit is that Fico says the older negative items are, the less weight they hold on your scores. That's why I said my score was so high, because they were aging. But in the meantime, in between time, from the time I went negative to when I pulled my score, I had done so much building. Like, that's why I tell people, rebuild and repair simultaneously. So many people are like, I'm gonna get all the negative stuff off and then I'm gonna start building. No, do it at the same time. That's like people say, I'm gonna do all my cardio, lose my fat, then I'm gonna work, and then I'm gonna lift weights. No,
do it at the same time.
So that is a big thing. People always like, let me get all this negative. So the first thing people think about when it comes to repairing their credit, they think handle negatives. And I'm like, no, it's a way to repair it by building as well. And so I think we need to change people's mindset in that sense as well. I hate saying credit repair, because I'm like, this is a whole overall, credit. I don't know what we're gonna call it, but we just need to get the whole thing together.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay. Is it credit restoration? Like, what's the best term?
I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. I used to do credit repair. I did call it a credit restoration program. But I still did the education piece while I was working on sending the letters out for them, because I'm like, you still got work to do on your end while I'm doing this. Other credit repair companies want you to think all we gotta do is send some letters out and voila, great credit. And that's not it. Anyway, I hated it. I stopped doing it. So yeah, I think credit rehab. I don't know. We need to call it something. But anyway, do both at the same time. Don't just focus on negative.
Awesome. And I want to go back to the letters, because I meant to ask this earlier. So you said that you could do a bunch of letters at one time. Now, I have read in the past where if you're going to personally write letters, that you should do it in blue ink or something like that. What's the deal with that? Is that another myth?
It doesn't matter. They're saying that because they're like, if you type it, then they can't run it through their system and they can't assign it a code for it to whatever. So if you put it in blue or black ink, it forces them to actually have to read it. It's a bunch of hogwash. Everyone's always looking for a loophole or a hack or a trick. And that's everything. Even you watch videos on Facebook. Here's a life hack. If you hang something on your fridge, we're always looking for hacks, right? Some way to simplify our lives. So they're looking for credit hacks. The biggest thing about credit repair or challenging the credit bureaus, know the law. I'm not going to write a letter for you. I'm not going to tell you to write a letter until I have you understand the laws that they must abide by and the rights that you have. If you don't know the law, you're sending letters. You don't even know what they're supposed to be held accountable to do, right? Gotcha. So like, why? And then they come back and cheat you, but you don't even know the rights that you have. So you like, oh well, I guess they couldn't do it. It's like, well, when they send this, they're also supposed to send this. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Educate yourself. You see these posts on Facebook. Maybe a cop is pulling somebody over, and they're reading them. Well, according to the state laws, section blah blah blah. It's like, wow, how did this random citizen know these laws? And they're spitting it back to the officer. They did their research. And I understand people are not going to read the FCRA or FDCPA in their spare time over tea and crumpets. This is not going to happen. So that's where I come in. I pull the sections that matter when it comes to disputing. I'm not saying never dispute. I'm not saying never send a letter. Understand what you're doing. Here's another thing. Credit repair companies, they're not sending letters as Shanté's credit restoration service. They're sending letters as Rashad. So they're writing letters on your behalf, and you don't even know what the letters are saying. You don't care. You're like, just write it and get the stuff off. And then so you're paying $89 a month, $99 a month, $1,000 startup fee, $500, like all these crazy stuff, things that I hear. And I'm like, you don't even know what's happening. You don't know what's going on with the letters. You don't know what they're saying. They could be writing the ABCs on the letter and mailing it off. You're like, like, you don't know what they're sending.
Yeah, that's true.
But people pay because they're desperate, and they are smart because they bank on people's ignorance of not understanding credit or the credit law and desperation.
Yeah.
And people say, girl, if you repair credit, you can make all this money. I know, but I also have a heart.
Yeah.
And my goal is not to break people's pockets or mislead them, right?
Yeah.
So no, that's not my goal. And so, yes, I can teach you how to repair. I can teach you the letters to write. I can teach you what to say exactly in the letter. And then the people say, I don't have time to do it. Can you just do it? I don't have time. I said, answer this question for me. If I give you a template, so it's already typed up, I tell you 2 sentences to type in the template, and you print it and you stuff it in an envelope. How long did that take you? 10 minutes? Once you drop it in the mail, what else is there to do? Wait for a response. So why do people think it's a full-time job? I'm like, I know you got to show you binge watch. You don't have time, you know? So it's just this thing that people just have this warped concept of what credit is, how it works, how it should work. And then all the misconceptions and myths are really just loopholes that people try to just make up, you know? Because I'm like, you didn't read that anywhere. Someone made this up thinking it's some type of credit hack, and everyone ran with it. Yeah. Every year I see the same memes shared millions of times on Facebook, and it's so wrong. And the people in the comments are like, wow. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, please join my group or go read a book. Because like, don't pay collection agencies a dime. That's the biggest one I see. You don't owe them. You owe the original creditor. You don't owe the collection agencies. Okay. And then when you inbox me saying you got a summons, I'm telling you stuff, and these are not examples. This is real life.
This is real life. This is stuff that people talk about all the time on your page. I see it.
I don't want to pay them. You don't owe them a dime. Okay. Oh, HIPAA. If the medical collection goes on there, it's a HIPAA violation. Who said that? But it's all over social media. HIPAA. Wow. You even know what HIPAA stands for. First of all, they spell it wrong, so I know you don't even understand what HIPAA means. And then, like, what is HIPAA for? Like, you've signed several HIPAA forms, but I bet you never read it. You just signed because the doctor said sign these last 3 pages and give us the clipboard back. People just need to take some time to educate themselves. That's just, I don't know if I can stress it any more than that. Don't jump into stuff doing it because you read somewhere or you heard. Even me. People love my group. They love that I'm very involved. But I tell people, even what I'm telling you, go and make sure what I'm saying is right. Now,
go vet you. Go check it out.
Yeah, and don't think because you saw it on the internet it's right. Because I found a lot of credit articles where I'm like, Jesus Christ, who wrote this? Because that's not right, you know? So, just make sure you understand what you're doing. Don't sign up. My group, somebody signed up for self-lender. My score went up 40 points. What do everybody do? Run and sign up for self-lender. And then they say, it didn't help me. I say, why didn't it help you? I don't know. I said, that means you don't even understand how it was supposed to help if you don't understand how it did not help.
Absolutely.
Stop doing something because somebody else did it. Your journey and my journey are going to be 2 different things. Even if we both have the same goal. We want to buy a house in the same neighborhood for the same exact price. What do I need to do for my credit? What do you need to do for your credit? Your journey is going to be different than mine because wherever you're starting is not where I'm starting. You live in Fort Worth. I'm in DC. We both want to move back to Atlanta. Okay, well, the way you get there from Texas and the way I drive there from DC are 2 completely different things, even though we're trying to get to the same exact place. Understand that you need to know where you're starting in order to know where to go.
You drop some gems. Whoever's able to listen to that, you get some really good information.
I hope if you don't do nothing else, if you don't take nothing else from this interview, take that, okay? Yeah. Your starting point is different. When you get in the car and your GPS asks you where you want to go, the first question is, what is your current location? They need to know where you are to tell you where to go. So you need to do an credit inspection on yourself before you start figuring out. Maybe you don't need self-lender, but you don't know that because you didn't inspect your credit.
Gotcha. And through your company, you do those things. Like you sit down and do an evaluation and decide, by each person individually what they have to do in order to get where they need to go.
I tell them it's very personalized. It is not one size fits all. What you have to do is different than with the client. And sometimes my clients have the same 3 or 4 things they may need to do. But as far as individualized, you may have no collections, but you got 6 charge-offs. Well, I got to tell you something different to do than the person who has 17 collections and no charge-offs. or you have a late payment, or you only have 3 credit cards, no installment lines. I'm gonna tell you something else to do. If my other client has 4 credit cards, a mortgage, and a student loan, they don't need another installment line. So it's always different. So yes, what I do is pull your reports and look at everything line by line. We get on the phone. I'm not only telling you what to do, but why. That is so much more important than the what. I can give you a whole list of things to do. You're going to do them because Shanté said so. But if you don't understand why I told you to do it, then I'm doing you a disservice. Right.
I can appreciate that. And anybody who watches this and who listens to how passionate you are about it, then I think they would be interested in giving you a call, because it's easy to just tell somebody, hey, go do this. And they do it and they don't know why they did it. What happens the next time?
Some people don't care. They're like, I just want the good score.
That's true.
But
I just want to get good score for this mortgage I'm trying to get.
I'm like, then you're not the client for me, because I'm not going to take your money and not teach you. One person out of hundreds of clients, one person actually was like, I don't want to learn all that. I don't care. Like, just tell me what I need to do. I was like, I'm going to have to refund you then, because I'm not. And
it's not just about the money for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, this is not. And she was like, money is not a problem for me. I'm like, that's fine, but I'm an educator. So if that's not what you want, then we're not going to do that. And we spent 45 minutes on the phone just talking about what she don't want. I'm like, I could have been sitting there educating you all this time. Yeah. But also, so I do have things that meet the same goal, but they are packaged differently, right? So the thing you mentioned was my one-on-ones. That's a little more pricey because I'm on the phone with you. We're hashing out everything. You also get another 30 days of counseling. So after we hang up and you get your plan, you can call, you can text me, you can call, you can email me asking any questions you need to, provide me with any updates. But then also people are like, I can't afford that. So I said, okay, well, I have something that's literally just like me, but it's in the form of a portal. Mm-hmm. So I have a big workbook there for you. Okay, you sign up. I say, okay, so the part 1 is an overview of how to go through the portal. Part 2 is, let's inspect your credit. Before you even watch any of these modules to figure out what to do, you need to know what you actually have on your credit. So it's broken down by credit cards, loans, student loans, auto, whatever, collections, charge-offs. You write it all out, inquiries. Then you say, okay, my cards are okay, my limits are good, my balances are good, but I'm having an issue with some charge-offs. So then you're going to click the portal for the charge-off. You watch the 5-minute video. I tell you exactly what you need to do for it, and you write it down and you do it. And then they say, oh, okay, well, I got this medical collection. I don't have credit card collection, but medical. So you watch the 5-minute video on medical collection. So this way, you're not overwhelming yourself trying to watch all this stuff that doesn't apply to you. You watch the things that apply to you. That's why you have to do your inspection first. Most people have this big old thing with 70 courses, and you just trying to watch them all and trying to figure out what I need to do. And you're like, half these don't apply to me. So you just watch the ones that apply to you. In the end, you end up with a full-blown action plan. What kind of action plan? The same action plan I would have sent you if you did a one-on-one with me and I checked your credit. That's half the price of my one-on-one, because this and it's a 90-day, you have 90 days access. So you can take your time. Once we get off the phone, you got all this information in one day, and then we hung up and that's it. After 30 days, it's gone, but you have now 3 months to rewatch the videos, make sure you're doing everything okay, all those things. So, so I try to offer different tiers, but something that's going to render the same results, right?
That sounds good. And it sounds like something that definitely would work for a lot of people, because some people sometimes people can't afford the higher price item, something in between where they have to take a little bit of responsibility and ownership, that might work out just well for them. I come from a time when, some of the old credit groups used to tell you just dispute everything. And there have been times when I literally would write a letter and dispute everything with my credit. And I would get lucky and like it would fall off. Does that method still work at all, or not really? Is it just a luck of the draw?
So let me ask you a question. I asked this to my clients. So we're going to do a little quiz for you and see. So disputing, because that D word is the word of the moment, when people talk about repairing credit. And I say, okay, so let's talk about the process. What do you think happened? So I give an example. You have a Discover card. You've been flawless, never late, ever. You had it for 7 years. We're in August. So back in May, they marked you late. And you're like, my credit report said I was late in May. I was not late. Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, I'm writing the dispute letter saying I was not late in May 2021. Are we in 2021? Yeah. And you need to fix this. And you send it to all 3 credit bureaus. What happens once they get your letter? What is the dispute process?
So if I'm not mistaken, the next thing they do is to contact the company.
Mm-hmm.
Then the company verifies whether or not you were late.
What happens if they don't even bother contacting the company? They don't even do an investigation.
You know what? So my guess will be that you would lose the whole account. So you'll lose all the history from that account.
But no, but don't think about the account specifically. What do the credit bureaus have to do if they don't even bother investigating your dispute?
If the credit card company does not
who did you send your dispute letter to?
To Equifax.
Right. So if they don't even bother contacting Discover, they don't do anything with your letter. What should happen with the information?
That's a good question. I don't think anything would happen in that situation if they don't. Well, actually, you know what? The late might go away if Equifax doesn't do what they were supposed to do.
What might go away? Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
the credit bureaus are paid. They are for-profit companies, and they get paid every time the companies report an update to them, right? So that I wanted to use that sense because everybody wants me to talk about disputing collections and stuff, but I wanted to say just if it's a credit card, if they cannot verify the accuracy of your dispute, they have to fix whatever it is that you're disputing, right? Yeah. So, but most people challenge charge-offs, repos, bankruptcies, collections. So yes, you can get lucky if you send a collection letter for, a dispute letter for 4 collections and they don't even bother responding and they don't do a full investigation. They only have 30 days to investigate and get back to you with the result. If they don't, what happens to that collection?
It goes away.
Okay, so that's how people luck out. Now, here's the kicker. Do you know that collections can be removed and get put back on the credit report?
So it wouldn't necessarily be with the same company, right? It would be with another collector. Am I correct?
Nope. Same
company. Wow. How does that happen?
Okay, so when I asked you about the process and I said Discover marked you late and you sent the letter, I said, what should they do? You said they need to contact Discover, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means Discover knows that you have a dispute, right?
Yep.
Now, if they don't bother contacting the collection agency has no idea that you're disputing, correct?
Correct.
So it falls off after 35 days because they didn't even bother investigating. But again, I'm the collection agency and I don't know you had a dispute. So every month when I just go do my updates to the credit bureau, it's going to show right back up because I don't know you disputed. I'm doing what I do regularly, which is submit monthly updates to the credit bureau.
Gotcha.
So it can fall off if you luck out, if they don't even bother. And that's what people try to do. Send a whole bunch of letters to just flood the system and then things fall off. And then Shanté's recovery collection services, I go, okay, let me submit my updates for all of these, the customer, and then it shows right back up. And people are like, how can it be removed and pop right back up? Because they just do their updates regularly. Now you are right. If they sell it to another company, it can be removed and pop, but you don't have to dispute for that. If I own your debt and I sell it to, Enhanced Recovery, I can't legally report that you owe me anymore. So it comes off with me, but it pops back up with Enhanced Recovery.
Okay.
But that's the dispute process. They have to contact whoever, because Equifax didn't put that late payment. Discover told them to. So they have to contact the furnisher, which is the person who furnished them the information, right? So all the stuff that's on your report, somebody told them to put that. Equifax is not out here researching all of your accounts and just updating with information. Like people are saying, hey, okay, he was late this month, mark it late. Okay, he's been on time this last 6 months, mark it on time. Okay, his balance is $1,000. Last month it was $8,000. So they have to submit updates. So collection agencies update, credit card companies update, your mortgage updates, your auto loan, everybody sends updates. And if you check your credit report, it says last reported or status update, and it has a date that lets you know that's the last time they submitted an update. So yes, things can fall off, but get put right back on your credit.
Okay. That's some really good information. And you spoke a lot about collections. I want to touch on collections a little bit, but before I get there, I wanted to talk a little bit more about disputes. So if you do a paper dispute that you mail in, I believe it's 30 to 35 days they have to respond. But is it true if you do it online, it's 45 days, or it's not encouraged to do it online? You're discouraged from doing it online. Am I correct?
You waive so many rights as a consumer when you do it online. And again, this is because nobody's reading the FCRA. They say, why do disputes happen so fast when you dispute online? Because number one, they don't even have to do an investigation. You waive their right when you dispute online. They don't even have to contact them. They make their own decision based on the codes they put in their system, whether to drop it off or not. So again, if it falls off and then the company goes to just do their regular updating, it can probably just go put right back on. They also don't even have to notify the people that you did a dispute. That's a right that you waive. They also don't even have to notify you of the results of the dispute. So you only know if you happen to just keep checking your credit report and see if any changes, but there's so many rights that it's called the expedited dispute process, and you waive those rights when you do that. So I always tell people, stop being lazy, write a letter, and I give templates because I'm like, I don't want you to have to write a letter from scratch. I've already put the foundation of what needs to be there. Just put whatever your reason was or whatever reason you're disputing. So I try to make it simple for people, but I just think because people don't understand it, they think it's a lot harder to deal with than it really is. It's so easy. And then once I give people their action plan, they're like, wow, that's all I got to do. I'm like, yeah, but you looked at your report like, because all you see is red X's and, red flags. But once I break it down and teach you the law, you might forget a little bit, but at least you have some knowledge. And so, it's really 30 days. They added 45 days because of the pandemic. But it's really 30. The FCRA says you have 30 days to investigate and do it, and then get back to the consumer. Even if something's reinserted, the credit bureaus have 5 business days to let you know that, hey, this was removed, but it got put back on. But they don't do that. But guess what? That's a law. So if something comes off and gets put back on and you weren't notified, you can now dispute based on that specific law. But people don't know that.
They don't know that.
That's the thing. It's like, oh, it came off and got put back on. I'm like, or the biggest thing with collections and disputes is even if you dispute and it's removed, that doesn't wipe away the debts. I should have addressed that first. People think if it's not there, I don't owe anymore. And those are the people who end up getting sued because they're like, oh, I got it off. And then they were like, oh, yeah, see you in court,
Now, what amount would lead somebody to actually sue you for a collection? Like, for the most part, like, what's an average amount that would lead a company to try to go after you?
It's all relative. There's some collection agencies that are very sue happy. There's some creditors that are very sue happy. I've never even seen a medical provider sue anyone, but one of my admins said she got sued by a hospital. So it just really depends on, I can't say anything over 1,000, you chance of being sued. I've seen Portfolios Recovery sue somebody for $700. So just handle your stuff. You know what I mean? Like if you can't handle it for specific reasons, I get that. But people were just like, whatever, I'll deal with it later. I made a post the other day saying, be proactive and not reactive. If you already know I'm struggling to pay my credit card debt, don't wait till you hit the wall and then contact them to say, I need help. Say, hey, I'm struggling right now. What can we do before this gets into negative status? Or you have a collection, deal with the collection right away. But what happens is people post in my group, I've had this collection for 4 years on my report and I just got a notice to go to court. What do? You should have had 4 years. What have you been doing? And you can't say you can't afford it because if I look at 4 years of your statements, you ain't going to tell me you never shopped or bought something for yourself in the last 4 years. People just need to be more proactive, not reactive, not react after. I just literally put that up yesterday, I think, or Monday morning. Yeah, I think it was Monday. So yeah, it's just like we need to just do better. I can't judge. I've had my CNBC did a story on me in June where I paid off $50,000 in credit card debt. Well, how did you get that much debt? Well, I was going through a divorce. I lost my job. I was in school full time. So I was just living off student loans and racking up. But even me, I have an excuse. Oh, she lost her job. She was going through a divorce. But I should have had a savings account in place for that. So that was a lesson learned for me. I used to always think, I got a good job. I don't need to save. When I want something, I just buy it until I didn't have the job anymore. Then it was, I have no savings because I never saved. And, so for me, that was a hard lesson learned. I was thankful to have the credit cards to use to stay afloat. But who wanted to pay back? It took me like 8 years to pay back.
Yeah, that's a long time too.
Yeah, and because I wasn't working full time. I was working part-time in school trying to pay back $50,000 a day. So it was a lot. But like my thing is like, don't just start now. Wherever you are on your journey, start now. Because I ask people all the time, Where will you be in 6 months from now if you start working on your credit? And where will you be 6 months from now if you don't? In the same position or worse. Just start. Get in the car. Get on the road. Like I said, your starting point is going to be different from somebody else, but you got to go. You got to go. I can't say I want to go to the mall, but I'm sitting in my house. The first step of going to the mall is getting dressed and getting in the car.
And you can't get there by spending.
And I can say all day, dang, I want to go to the mall this Saturday. Dang, I wish I could go to the mall. Like, you can get in the car and go, but you got to go. You got to take that first step. So stop talking about it and be about it. Like, I can't stress that enough. You know what your goals are. You want a house, but you're not showing me you want a house because you're still overspending. You're still not buying things you can afford. You're not working on your credit. You're looking at the wrong scores. You don't even know what FICO is because you're like, Credit Karma told me. So it's just, you got to take some time to educate yourself, learn, so that way you know you're taking the right steps. And even if you hit a road bump, Shanté taught me, FCC taught me, Google taught me, somebody teach somebody something. But you can always, your bounce back will always be that much quicker because you have the knowledge. I had cancer at 22. My score plummeted, but it bounced back quick because I was like, I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then I went through a divorce, plummeted, but I bounced back quick because I knew I lost my job. So I've been like this, but I never stayed there. Most people hit rock bottom and they're stuck for years because they're like, I guess I'm always going to have bad credit. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, they don't know what to do.
We can't keep using that excuse.
Absolutely. That's some good information. I have two more topics, but before I get there, I just want to touch on collections one more time. I think a lot of time people are really confused on how to approach a collection. So you hear people saying, do not pay on this collection because now it's going to restart that clock. So can you just elaborate on that? The best way to approach a collection?
That is probably number 4 in my book called Credit Myths and Misconceptions. Don't pay them because it starts the 7 years over. This is about that credit law we said. The FCRA does indicate how long something can be on your report, but it also says that it's 7 years and that's it. So if you go delinquent on a Capital One credit card in 2002, and they don't sell it to the collection agency until 2005, right? They try to collect from you for 3 years. They realize it's not going to happen. They sold it. The 7 years starts from 2002. Okay. I don't care how long it took them to sell it to a third party. Your 7 years is from the original delinquency date of that debt, right? So if it goes to collection in 2005 and you pay it, it's just going to stay for the remainder of the 7 years from 2002. It's not going to restart and be another 7 and another 7. Like, that's what people think, right? But that's a big misconception. It's going to fall off when it's supposed to fall off, whether you pay it or not. Even if you don't pay it, it's going to fall off in 7 years.
Now, can you get sued? We just talked about getting sued. Can you get sued after 7 years?
Well, the statute of limitations dictates that, not the reporting periods. That's another thing, one in my book. People confuse the two. They think the statute of limitations is 7 years. The reporting period is 7 years. The SOL is based on your state, right? Okay. In Maryland, it's 3 years. After 3 years, you can't sue me, but it's still going to be on for another 4 years because the 7 years hasn't passed. But once the SOL passes, you can't be sued. Once the 7 years passes, something can't fall off and be reinserted. Like, you had your time, that's it. Congress is actually working now to change that to 4 years. I think 7 years is ludicrous.
It is ludicrous.
So they're working on that. They're like, that's crazy. 7 years is crazy, but it never restarts. Nothing. The only thing that can restart is the statute of limitations, and that's based on certain factors. But it can't restart. If I'm in year 2 and I contact the collection agency and I'm trying to work out a deal and I'm acknowledging that I owe this debt, they can restart it another 3 years. So yeah, that can restart, but not the 7 year reporting period.
Gotcha. That's some really good information. I just got a letter like a few weeks ago about a alleged collection, something I don't even remember, from a doctor's visit from like 9 years ago. I'm like, come on now. Y'all not gonna sue me over this.
But most times in that letter, they will say like, it's outside of the statute of limitations, so we cannot pursue you legally.
Yeah, the letter said that too. I was like, why would I?
That's a zombie debt. A zombie debt is a debt that you can't be held liable for it legally, and that is not. They can't even report it because it's too old. But they can still try to get their money.
And some people probably fall for it, like they don't read the entire thing. Yeah,
exactly. But let me go back to, you say, how do you handle it? So we talk about the FCRA a lot. That's how things are reported, right? That's the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So it addresses how things are reporting, the rights. But the FDCPA is the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. People don't know those laws or the rights they have as well. It does say the first letter you ever get from a collection agency, at the bottom, they will say, you have 30 days to request validation from the debt of this letter. If you don't request validation, they're going to say, well, you're just admitting to it, right? You're not even asking to validate us to send you proof. You have 30 days. Most people get a collection letter, and what's the first thing they do when they get it? They trash it.
Shred it.
Stop running from it, because now so after those 30 days have passed, you waive that right. But I tell my client, you can send that validation letter anytime. You can send it after 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to respond. Don't they got 30 days? No, the credit bureaus have 30 days to respond. Collection agency don't have 30 days if you already lost that. And I'm sure that letter came to you 5 years ago. So you missed that already. Stop running. Or I don't have the money to pay, so I just keep ignoring it. Call them and say, I want to pay you, but I don't have it all. Can you work out a deal? Because guess what? They bought that debt from a creditor for pennies on the dollar. But from you, they can collect the full amount. So they press. After about 6 months to a year, they start sending you letters like, all right, let's work something out. Like, can we get like 50% or 30%? But the thing is, be proactive. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. You reach out to them and say, hey, I don't have all the money. I do want to take care of it. Can we work something out? Now the ball's in their court. If they say, well, we can or you say, can I do 50? And they say, no, but we'll do 30. Bet, let's go. And it's gone. Take care. It's like people are like, they don't want to face it. I ask people all the time when I do speaking engagements, when's the last time you looked at your credit report? Everybody raise their hand. Last year, 2 months ago, I don't know, years ago. I'm like, so you don't even know what's happening on there. Mm-hmm. One of my clients had 4 collections on her report. None of them were hers.
That's weird.
They were on there for 3 years.
Probably a similar name or something, huh?
But for 3 years, that damaged your credit?
That's crazy.
You didn't even know they were on there? She was like, I've never even lived in that state before. I said, but this has been on your credit for 3 years. She's like, oh my God. So we disputed and it came off. But the bottom line is, if you don't know what's happening, like, would you buy a house before getting it inspected?
Absolutely not. Well, people are in this market.
I'm so glad I bought when I did. But yeah, they are. Or a car. Your car has to pass inspection before it can get on the road, right?
Yep.
You're not going to buy a car and be like, I'll just figure out what's wrong as it comes. When it breaks down and my engine blow, I'm like, I guess I had a problem with the engine. No, figure that out before you get on the road.
Well, Credit Karma, their scores might be worthless, but it's definitely good to monitor your credit. I mean, I've seen stuff, I've caught stuff on Credit Karma, and I've taken care of it. So that's definitely a good point that you made. You definitely have to monitor. 3 years is unacceptable.
For collections that were not hers. I mean,
that's crazy.
So yeah, it's all about knowing where you stand, and it's about having a healthy overall credit profile. I know we want that score, but the score is going to come along with the healthy profile, because remember, it goes based on what's on your report. The healthier your report, the healthier your score. So don't get away from that number. Just make sure your overall credit is great, and that number is going to come along with it. So I'm educating on specific things, but as you see, I just keep getting back to like the mindset, rewiring yourself, regrouping and saying, okay, I know what I was taught. I know what I wasn't taught, but now I'm here and I need to, face it. And a lot of my clients are like between 25 and 50, and they're like, oh, I can't believe I'm just learning this. That's all right. You're learning now.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you are alive and breathing and we're talking, that means it's not too late.
Oh, it's like the question, you might have a 60-year-old who says, oh, is it too late to start saving for retirement? Like, as long as you're still kicking and breathing, you need to save.
You're going to work for the next 30 years,
Yeah.
Or like, is it too late to buy my house? I'm 56. I'm like, if you're 80 and you never own a home and that's your desire, buy your house.
Buy your house. Because you got to stay somewhere, right? You might as well stay in the house.
And plus that helps people. When you have goals, it makes you press. It makes you move, right? Set those goals first, and then don't only set goals. I say this every year when the new year starts. Stop making New Year's resolutions and not having actionable steps to attain this goal. I can say all day long, I want to lose weight, but then I need to start saying, all right, what do I need to do that? Eat better, cut out the wine, do this, do that, work out at least 3 days a week. Don't just write that. People just write down all these goals and then they don't write down any of the steps they need to take to complete those goals. And some of them are not attainable for where they are in that, but they write it anyway. But I'm like, no, write stuff that you can work on and be busy and active with. So if credit is your goal, if having better credit is your goal, you cannot do that without understanding credit. Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I have my one-on-one. I have my credit repair GPS portal where you can have all the videos and stuff. But then I have 6 ebooks. Each ebook talks about a certain part of your walk in credit. And you can get all 6 of those books for $39. One book is breaking down your credit report. And I have 50 pages of just every situation that you would find on the credit report. Then I have breaking down credit scores. Why isn't Credit Karma good? Why is Fico good? How come there are 28 FICO scores? Which one do I need to focus on? I didn't even know there were so many. Are there only 3 credit bureaus, or are there other credit bureaus? Just everything about scores. Then one is about credit cards, the good, the bad, the ugly. I break that down. Then one is about the credit myths and misconceptions. 2 of them are on credit law. Let's understand the law and then how you fight the credit bureaus and collection agencies. So learn the law first, then let's talk about how to fight them. All of those things, it all is just one big, bowl of knowledge that people need in order to walk this path. Because you can know how to read your report, you can know the law, but then you still believe in all those misconceptions you read in all these other credit groups. So you have to start your journey, and you can still render the same results as a one-on-one. You just don't have me on the phone.
Yeah.
But I want people to not always depend on me evaluating your credit report. You pull it. Well, they pull it and say, I don't even know what all this means. Well, the first book called Breaking Down Your Credit Report will break everything down for you. So I'm just really big on knowledge, educating, teaching, because once someone gives you information, you might forget a little bit, but they can't take that away from you.
Absolutely.
You can't take it away. It's already in here. So that's my biggest thing. When I do these, I like to just really talk foundationally. You did ask some questions that took it a little higher. I really don't touch on the collections and stuff deeply. When I'm doing webinars, interview style, we're good. But it's because people will forget everything else I said and be like, all right, collections.
Yeah, true.
Rewind it back, So, but this was really great. I think that you touched on some things that a lot of people probably are wondering or asking or always, thought they knew, but were misunderstanding, So.
And you know what? You've been an amazing interview, and we could probably go on another 2 hours. I appreciate your time. Anytime. Before you give your information, contact information, I have a challenge for you because we're past our time, but I have 2 more important issues I just want to touch on. If you can do it in 20 seconds.
Real quick. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when is a time that you would ever recommend to co-sign?
Never.
Easy enough.
Sorry. I've been married. People say, well, if you're married, that don't matter either. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. Know who you're co-signing for. Know their credit responsibility, right? It can be a friend who you co-sign for, but if you know they have a history of they don't play. They owe people, they pay back. Anytime they borrow from you, they pay back. Know their history. Don't do it just because that's my good girlfriend. Because good girlfriend don't mean she gonna pay back on time or have the mentality of, it'll be all right. They'll get it when they get it. So I want to circle back. I don't want to say never. It's okay when you understand that person's responsibility, right? Okay. Because you can have a husband who's irresponsible with money. That don't mean co-sign because he's your husband.
Yeah.
So I think that's only I don't care if it's cousin Pinky or Aunt Joan or Grandma Nettie. I don't care who it is. If you have not seen with your own eyes that they've been very responsible with managing money. Because here's the thing, why do they need a cosign?
There you go. Because the bank don't think they're gonna pay or can pay. Right. A lot of time.
So maybe a kid who is trying to get a car and they don't have enough credit.
Or if it's your child and you know that you're trying to help build their credit and you're going to pay for it anyway, then right. A lot of time, people who sign for people and they know them well and they have really good intentions. Like the person plans on paying it back and just a life event happens, so
everybody
now
has good intentions.
Some people might not. Some people might be like, hey, my buddy is signing on this. I ain't gonna pay. But that's few and far between. Most people have really good intentions, and
So
life
like,
happens.
you can't base it on that. You need to know their history. I ain't saying pull all their credit reports. You need to go that far and do that. But just if you don't really know how they manage their money over time, then no.
You better than me, because I have come up with the decision that I will never co-sign for anybody. So that's me though.
I mean, I've had friends who, had to take out a loan, to maybe like fix their car, and if the interest is like really high. But I know how responsible they are with their money. So I said, you know what? I'll do a balance transfer. I'll put that on my card. You got 0% for a whole year. Just pay me the money every month when it's due. I know they're good for it.
And they're not just gonna run away, and you're not gonna stop hearing from them. Yeah, I understand that. People that you can trust.
Yeah, and not just trust. I can trust you with my child, but if I can't trust you with money, then that's a different story. So I still, I have to trust you with money. Like, I need to know that your history is good. The only reason why you're in this rut, because, you had a job loss. It's not like you're a frivolous shopper or you just be traveling here and there. It's because, and I'm like, because I've been blessed to be afforded a lot of available credit and I'm not in debt. If I can help you out to not have to pay more than you needed to get your car fixed, then hey, I got you.
That's awesome. All right. Well, the final topic, bankruptcy. When is it appropriate, or when should somebody just throw in the towel and say, hey, you know what? I need to go see a bankruptcy attorney?
That's very subjective. So it's really, people think that should be the first course of action. And it's not. Yes, you can rebound from bankruptcy. There's several people in the group who say, I did it. It was the best decision I ever made. And now here I am. But that's still a yucky stain. I know. I see you and one other girl who's been in the group literally probably since the second month that I started. She's always jumping out there too. Like, yep. And I like that y'all say that because I don't want people to think it's the end. It's like once you do it, it's like, oh, your life is ruined. No one's ever going to give you credit. But it shouldn't be the first course of action. If you know that you have done everything that you can, you cut your spending, you cut the cord, you don't have cable, you got the cheapest cell phone plan, like minimize your life first to see where you can get that extra money from. Call them to say, hey, do you have any hardship programs? I'm having a problem paying this card off. Okay, we'll lower your interest, we'll lower the monthly payment, but we're going to close your card out. I don't care. I just need some relief. When you contacted your card note to say, hey, can you defer my payments a few months? I'm trying to play catch up. When you have exhausted every measure and you still just don't see any end in sight and it's causing you mental stress because your physical health is more important than financial health, then maybe consider filing. But most people one girl, poor thing, 24 years old, I had $5,600 in credit card debt. I want to file bankruptcy. We were like, poor thing, girl, stop. Because they just think wipe it away and clean slate. We're like, you most likely not getting approved for $5,600 is nothing, So I have hundreds of one-on-one clients, and I've only suggested to one person.
Wow, that's
if
awesome.
I'm suggesting it, then it was bad. She lost her husband, she lost her mom, she lost two sisters. This was all within 2 years. And she was in a state where it was like his debt, your debt.
Yep.
So I was like, yeah, man, I felt so bad. And I said, I will walk you through the process. I'll help you out. But I said, I see end in sight for you, but you'll kill yourself stressing yourself out before you can find the end in sight. Otherwise, I don't suggest it to people. If that's the route you want to take, you're free to do so. But it's not the first course of action because most people haven't exhausted every option.
Absolutely right. You're right. And I agree. And that's the compassionate side of you coming out. It's a stain. It is a huge stain. It's not anything that you take lightly. So I totally agree with you. I was at the point where I couldn't sleep at night, and obviously it was impacting my wife. So we made that decision. Yeah.
Like, listen, don't die about it. But the thing is, people we have to live in a microwave society. Instead of me working hard, contacting this creditor, see what I can do. I just want to, ding, it's done. Yay, bankruptcy, everything's wiped out. Now where can I start clean? No, understand what happens, how long that can affect you, what things can it affect. You can't buy a house for 2 years. Some people are like, oh, no, that income ratio is great. Yeah, but you got a new bankruptcy, And then chapter 13, you still paying.
Yep.
on a plan for
For
5
5 years, right?
years.
Yep.
Right. And then you can't get a house until it's been 2 years after that's been discharged. You know, so it's kind of like understand what you're getting into, but don't kill yourself. But I think people jump to it because it's there. It's an option.
Yep.
And they're like, I'd rather just but when people do have that mindset, they end up right back in the same, because their mind was just, I know I ran this debt up, I was shopping, I was frivolous, whatever, I just want to get rid of it. And then you right back to square one. What did you learn? I have a client who filed twice.
Oh, I've seen somewhere where somebody filed 3 times. I couldn't believe
I
it.
can't say that, just crazy, but yeah, it was on her credit report 2 times.
Wow.
So, you know, it's again, money mindset. Change your mindset if you have to. Me, again, full transparency, I was a struggle kid. So as an adult with lots of money, I still have the struggle kid mentality.
Me too. Yeah, I'm exact. People ask me all the time, why are you so frugal? And it's like, I don't ever want to go back to.
I don't ever want to.
Yep, that's a good point. We're eye to eye with that. You know,
it's bad because I know there's no way to really live. I mean, you can still be frugal and not be how we like. But I'm just like, I just be like, oh, I don't want to spend this. Like, so my husband bought me some AirPods for my birthday. He said, don't ask me how much they cost and don't worry about it because I know you wouldn't have spent this much money on it. And I was like, I would have never paid that much money for no headphones, you know. But now I'm just like, they're the best things ever. He's like, and that's why I bought them, because he knew I wouldn't have.
Yeah. My wife always says the best gift is one that you buy for somebody that they wouldn't have got for themselves, but they know they need it. You know.
I love that. Where is she? Where's she at?
She's not here. She at the house.
But yeah, it's like, but that's not always a good mentality to have. Yes, it keeps you frugal, but it's like you also miss out on the fruits of your labor because you're like, oh, I gotta hold on to the money. So I'm trying to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I work hard.
Absolutely.
Every day. And
you do.
And thank you. And coming from what I've been able to accomplish financially, it's like, girl, do good for yourself. Like, you all right, you know, but and I don't know if I'll ever, you know, not have that mentality. I'll tell you, it keeps me out of debt.
There you go.
That's a plus side. But no, I enjoy. I mean, I always, I don't know who you have believers or who believes in what or whatever, but I just know that God, I feel like God has allowed all these things that have happened in my life to bring me to this exact point today. Now, would I go through it again? Hell no. But I'm glad that I did, because if it's impacting as many people as I have on my platform, you know, my friends, they text me with credit questions. My mom be asking me questions. You know, my husband's like, okay, so remember you said, how much percent should it be? And I just love it. I love teaching. And I love the fact that I can use my life as a platform to help thousands of people. And I never thought I would be here. Just starting a group one day, like, I just want to share my story. And my friend was like, girl, you got 60 people. What if you get to 100? And I was like, that sounds crazy. And then he got to 100. She was like, you're going to be at 500 by next month. And I was like, girl, that sounds crazy. I mean, I remember I got to my first 1,000. And I thought, like, I hit the lottery. And, like you
now
said, at 100,000 people. And we have over 10,000 people on our block list. So we would have been over 100. I'm not playing. I can send you a screenshot.
I know you be blocking folks.
I block some people before they even get in, and I block people if I'm about quality and not quantity.
Yeah.
So people like, you almost at 100. I'm like, I would have been at 105 at this point if I let everybody in, but we don't. So, and if you're watching this and you don't know who I am and see how I roll, I'm about quality and not quantity. I don't care about big numbers. Okay, it's about the lives that I'm able to impact. So
that's awesome. Well, why don't you go ahead and drop any contact information?
Shanté Nicole. So I am on Instagram at Financial Common Sense, and the Facebook group where I met this lovely young gentleman here is Financial Common Sense. The Facebook page is the public page where you can share things, and that's Financial Common Sense Inc. So that's how you can tell the difference. But the group is private, very confidential. We do not share. Facebook won't even allow you to share posts outside of a private group. But lots of tips, resources. I'm very active in the group. People always say you're the most active admin in any group ever. But I'm always trying to make sure people have the right information. Just that people are happy. You know, I'm very sarcastic. I love me a good gif. So like, you're gonna laugh. But when it's time to get serious, we're serious. But I just really want people to just have fun. Money is not a sexy subject to talk about. It's not fun to deal with.
Taboo.
It is very taboo, especially in the brown community. So, But we need to change that. Again, mindset. Let's shift that. And so find me on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I just started that like 3 months ago, and I don't even post anything. So if you want to follow me there, you can. But that's at Financial Common. That's at Fin Common Sense.
And before I let you go, I want to clarify one thing. It's Financial Common Sense. And sense is CENTS.
Like money.
Yeah, you like money.
Thank you for saying that. I always say that. I say Financial Common Sense, CENTS. So thank you for,
Hey, no problem. Well, hey, I just wanted to let you know I salute you. I appreciate you. And it's been real. I really appreciate you. And we will definitely be talking soon. Okay.
Absolutely. And let's help you get that YouTube page growing. So
yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure. Have a good one. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.